Welcome. Oh, that's not even the intro I do. Welcome, back to Late Night at the Barcade. This is episode 2. After a long hiatus, I think about a week, I've decided to make another episode instead of, like last time, not making a single thing. I'm your host, Jhon. If you haven't seen the first one, check out the first one. Or check out this one. I don't know. We got a lot of spicy topics, all right? We got a lot of cool stuff coming on. We got a bit of hypotheticals, all right? You guys like hypotheticals, and you guys like VRchat stuff. And I promise, this time, I won't say I'm going to talk about stuff and then never bring it up. Though I have removed a couple of stuff that I was going to bring up, because I don't know. I don't think it's going to be nice, all right? And, I think you're going to have, it's going to be stuff that's going to get me canceled. So yeah, welcome back. We got a lot of topic points today. We've got, you guys know who Burger Andy is? I didn't until a couple months ago, and now I do. We're talking about him. I don't know why. I thought it would be interesting. I don't know enough about this guy, but yet I'm still gonna fucking talk about it. So if you don't like that, well, this ain't the show for you, kid. All right, we got the VRchat community. Another one. A lot of people who were looking at the video last week really liked when I was talking about VRchat shit. So we're gonna talk about it again because what's better than inflaming the AI community? Let's inflame the VRchat community, who are notoriously really horrible sometimes. Sometimes they're great. There was probably someone who saw that video, right? They're sitting, okay, picture this, right? You're sitting down, right? You're a VRchat little fucking weird guy. You go on the game, right? You strap in your little fucking Hello Kitty VRchat headset shit, right? And because you thought it was quirky sometime, you put on googly eyes, right? And you've regretted that decision ever since, but you've never taken it off because you're performative, right? We get that. That's 100%. I understand, right? And you get in your VRchat game, and a bunch of your friends are talking about this new thing called Late Night at the Barcade. You've never heard about it before. You heard wind that maybe a couple of years ago some guy was advertising on VRchat and it didn't end up well because he just didn't post again. But you forget about that. You're not even bringing that up anymore. All right, that's not even you. You don't remember, right? And so you're sitting down with all your other weird little friends. You've pressed your little model and you come into the virtual world and you're not surprised to see this, but you've got your big tittied woman avatar, even though you're a man. You've been jacking off to the thought of you and big tits for years now. And today, instead of doing what you usually do, which is jacking off to your beautiful big tittied avatar, you've decided not to, right? And good on you, right? You've made some better decisions for yourself, okay? And so you've walked into your little community with all your other male friends who also have big tittied women avatars or very creepy, avatars that could be children. You don't really know. You don't really care, We've stopped as a society hating on people like you, and you've stopped hating on people who are similar to you, right? So you don't really pick it up anymore, okay? And you're hanging out with your friends and, you're talking to them and you guys don't really even talk about your days, really. You just talk about the next big thing that's going on, because you're all a little antisocial, right? And that's fine. That's cool. That's how it is. This is the community you've fostered, right? And that's cool. That's fine. I swear we will get into an actual intro soon. And so you sat down with your crew. And they're talking about this guy named Jhon. He's made this podcast. And you're like, oh, surely it's just another troll, right? And so you check on it, and you see at the very end of the video a little timestamp that says VRchat something. I forget what it was. VRchat something. And you click on it, right? thinking, wow, this is gonna be something. You know, I'm gonna be able to hate on this guy by hating on me, right? You get what I mean? You understand what I mean? You know what I mean, and I know you know what I mean, right? And so you're sitting down in your little crew, you're watching Late Night at the Barcade, and you're like, you know, you're feeling something. I don't know if it's hate. You don't know if it's hate. You don't know if it's, you know, shame, guilt, but you're feeling something deep down there about this podcast. And let me tell you something, right? It's okay to feel that way, right? But don't forget, I'm your friend here. I'm here to support you. I think you're very autistic, and I think your community sucks. But there was a lot of nice people there, and there's a lot of nice people in your community. Let me give you some let me give you some advice, buddy. Right? Be better. All right? Be better. Take off the woman avatar. Go home. Take off your headset. And enjoy your life. All right? And if it has to be in the VRchat world, that's fine. But look around you now, dude. What do you see? You're surrounded by mirrors with a bunch of men and female avatars. And you're surrounded by a bunch of women, or a bunch of men and female avatars, right? And it dawns on you that you have within you right now the ability to perceive yourself, right? In a virtual space. You are at a point now where you're not caught up. You're not wrapped in amongst all of this degeneracy. You can see the things before you the way they truly are. And you need to make a decision. You need to take action. Change that model back to a man or whatever. Take off the headset. And find some less weird friends. All right, back to Late Night at the Barcade. Welcome, everyone. This is the actual intro. I'm your host, Jhon. We're going to get into some fun topics today, right? Burger Andy. I talked about him before. I don't know who he is, really. We're going to talk about the VRchat community. You guys love VRchat, and I found a very fun one to talk about. Oh, this is a great start to a podcast. I'm already sick. I've been, blowing my nose consistently for the past couple of minutes. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Another VRchat topic. I met a really weird dude, and I really want to talk about it. All right? That's going to be in there. I don't know if you guys have seen this topic around, right? But you know the whole, and some people don't, right? But the whole, sigma male, alpha male type thing going on, right? You know, because I subscribe, not to the idea, but I subscribe to a lot of things that, show me these things so that I can talk about it, right? I'm really quickly seeing a beautiful duality between the BTS community and the Sigma community. And these might not be words that you guys might or may not understand, right? But, stick with me. We're going to talk about it. If you're a fan of BTS, don't hate me. I'm not here to hate you. I know you guys are scary. Please don't hurt me. And then we're going to talk about, another podcast. A rival podcast. I might have started new, right? But I've had my toes in the game for some time, all right? I've had my toes in the game for some time. And there's this new rival podcast that I really want to talk about. And then, yeah, we got some extra little topics here and there that we may not do. So let's get into it. All right. I wanna say, a thing with this podcast, because I've been doing it so long. Although there's only one episode, I mentioned this in the previous episode before this one. How I have been making this content for for 2 years now. And if you really want to go like nitty gritty into it, I made this podcast all the way in like I think 2019 or something like that. Probably before that. It was actually a Twitch podcast, Late Night at the Barcade. I'm sure the guy who hosted with me wouldn't see this, but like essentially what we would do is just it was horrible. It was a horrible podcast, but we would like jump in like Xbox calls while having Twitch on, and then we'd have like the Asian Twitch, and then there was like another Twitch, not the Asian Twitch. That sounds bad. I mean like it was like the Chinese version of Twitch, if that makes sense, right? I'm gonna get so much hate for this. The first episode was like filled with like hating AI girlfriends and AI boyfriends, and then hating on this jester community and all that crap. Anyway, I need to structure my content, right? I gotta blow my nose again. This is a terrible episode. What was I saying? Oh yeah, because I've been doing it so long now. You know, I have like indirectly created a situation with the people within my life of like some people know that I make or have been making a podcast for some time, right? There are like few people who actually know the podcast exists and have seen it, and that is scary, but whatever. But like my family, my real life family, as opposed to my VRchat weird little family where I'm the dog and there's a 70-year-old woman who is the matriarch of the family. Can I talk about that? I know that we're talking about this, but can I talk about weird fucking VRchat families? You guys might not know, right? I'm saying this topic. I don't care. You guys might not know this term, or a lot of you may not know, but in VRchat, in Roblox, in Discord, in Google, in fucking 4chan, there was always like, there's always been since the dawn of the internet some guy or girl who has it within their head that they have to be a maternal figure for somebody else, right? Now, there is degrees to that, right? You could be like a really nice person who is friends with a child, pause. But you could be a really nice person who, I don't know, wants to fucking, not fuck, but wants to, I don't know, be there for them because, you hear how bad their life situation is or what have you, all right? You can be that type of person, whatever. I'm not here to hurt you, right? Again, I can't stress enough. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just talking about how autistic you are, okay? Now, with this, right, there's always been since the dawn of time people who want to be maternal figures for, like, children, right? And, I do understand to a degree, right? Like, when it's done in a way that makes sense, I guess. I mean, like, I have never... How do I say this without hurting anyone? I do think it's pretty fucking stupid. I do understand people need maternal figures, right? But claiming yourself, even as just for fun, as the mother of somebody, or the father of somebody, is just strange, I think you can have someone within your life that you see as a role model, but it's always been very strange just to be like, well, I consider this person my mother and my father, and I'll come to them like regarding things, and then me as the maternal figure will act like the father of the child, and I will be like, well, you've got to go to bed at a certain time and all of this. Like, use a good example, right? Because if I'm nothing, I am one who has examples, all right? This podcast may be talking about squat diddly fuck, right? And people might hate me. but I have examples. Okay, so we're gonna go back to that circus community. Weird bunch of weird. Oh, it's me in the circus, people. 100%. Now, in that world, I had met someone because and I forgot to talk about it on the podcast, but I'm talking about it now. Is that I had met this guy who, was, I don't know how the fuck he mentioned it, but it was like, oh, I think he just said it so casually, and he was like, oh, my son wanted to join me or something. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You have your son on VRchat. Do you I don't know, monitor him, and he's like, oh, not. He was playing into it, which is the really fucking weird thing about it, right? He was, I was talking to him and he's like, oh yeah, so I don't really, cause, he lives on his own and he can do whatever the hell he wants. Um, you know, but I try to support him X, Y, and Z. And then he just starts going on like a spiel about how he is something's happened to him. I wasn't really paying that much attention. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like he mentioned something that had struck me as quite odd, because to a degree I was like, oh, this guy is just talking about his real biological child, right? The way he was talking about this guy was that it was his child, and that's fine if you're if that's the way you talk about a friend of yours, sure, right? And he's like, oh, he doesn't have good parental figures, and I'm like, oh, so is that your biological son or not? And he's like, he's not my biological son, but he's my son. So yeah, he was talking as if the guy was his son, right? Just the way he was speaking. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Have you known the guy long? And he's like, no, I've known him for about a month. Like, okay, sure. And I was just asking more questions. I'm like, okay, so how does this work? Are you there for him? And he's like, well, whenever he needs help, I kind of give him fatherly advice. Like, are you a father yourself? He's like, no, I'm 27. Okay. Sure. And what about this guy? Does he have a I had to placate him to a degree because I really didn't want to offend him, right? I'm not here to seem like a troll or anything. I don't want to hurt the guy's feelings, so I'm like, oh, that's really nice of you for doing all of this, I guess, and it's the way he saw his world, right, was that he had said to me that he took on the fatherly figure and he claimed himself as the father because this guy clearly needed it, even though he didn't ask, right? And the guy didn't call him his father. He just kind of accepted the fact that this guy was calling himself the father, right? And I know this is not indicative of the entire community. I understand. But where's the mentality? Someone tell me, right? What mentality is there for you to be like, okay, well, this guy needs help, and that's fine, right? The guy needs help, sure, and I can present him help, but do you have to start considering yourself as the father when you're just giving a guy some help? It just seems odd and strange. And people have been doing this forever, right? This guy might not be the best example. It was 4 months ago that he's told me about this, and I don't really remember it that well. But I've always found the communities of this mother-father crap so very strange. I had a friend once who was very similar to that, and I've never enjoyed the idea of them considering me their brother, right? It's not, I'm sorry, but it's not when you consider someone who is not blood a parent, it's because of something, right? It's because of a genuine fucking reason. Not because you want to LARP as one. Not because you want to fucking just, oh, you're my brother, dog. It's you are genuinely someone there that I cannot replace again, right? That I genuinely care about like a brother, right? Or I genuinely care about like a sister. You know, I understand that to a degree when it comes to like friends, right? But I think I've just always seen it where someone's like, "Oh, I'm the father. You can be my son," or some shit like that. Where it's like, you know, what what have you done to be my father? What have I done to be your son? Right? At no point do do me and you have that connection, you know? You're just some fucking guy who thinks himself as this like matriarch of friends. Whatever happened to just being friends, dude, and supporting your friends? Do you have to make it this weird, creepy, like, oh, I'm your aunt type thing, right? No! We're friends, dude! Right? We're not weird little fucking. You're not my mom! You're not my dad, alright? You're just a friend who's being supportive, okay? Now, people can do their role plays, but I'm talking about to a degree where it's like, oh no, I am your mother. Oh no, I am your like adopted mother, your adopted father, X, Y, and Z. Like, you I'm sorry, but you don't most of you don't have the capacity to actually do that. You know, or you're just not someone who like should be adopting a child, right? Or adopting someone. You've got to understand like when you adopt a child, right? In real life, there are so many like things that come in place to make it to where that happens, right? You have to be a parent who is not going to make it worse for the child, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand that by saying they're the mother and the fucking father of a kid, that it's creating this parasocial relationship that if you cannot firstly handle and manage and actually support someone in a proper way, you're just gonna hurt the other individual. And if you as a person are throwing these labels on other people, stop. Stop doing it, man. All right? It's not healthy. It really isn't. Okay? Like, you are not helping the other individual by being a fucking weirdo. Okay? Oh, Lord. And then you have people who, like, say they're motherly figures, but don't act like motherly figures to people. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna be myself, but, like, this guy considers me as his mother, so I'm just gonna be weird and lewd around them. Like, buddy, you guys don't. You guys are forgetting that being a parent is very different to being a friend, and you're not supposed to put it together, right? The worst parents are parents who try to be friends to their kids when they're kids. You know, maybe down the line, sure. And hey, I'm not a parent. Alright, I'm just some weird fucking blue-pilled, red-pilled, Hatsune Miku-loving fucking podcaster, okay? But I'm telling you, you're fucking weird, okay? Stop. For the love of God, if you're someone in a fucking family situation right now that's not like a real family situation and is not like an authentic family situation where you're doing it for the right reasons, stop. Okay? Stop. Do whatever the fuck you want in private fucking circumstances, but just don't, okay? I'll use an example. I'll use an example. I don't give a fuck, right? Yeah, I will use an example. I'm not going to name the name, and you'll probably know who you are by me mentioning it, but, you know, a friend of mine in the past, you know, was very much like that, right? I'm not going to be inflaming you, bud, so don't worry, right? I'm not going to be burning all my friends to a stake, but I will use that as an example. I feel like you're in a bit of situation now, but this guy, he'll never see this. I keep making these little things, but he'll never see it. But this guy, he was like, you know, none of us had ever created a situation where we needed each other for like a family in a family way, right? You know, we were just friends, right? It was a friend group of friends. And this guy, you know, I understand like found family, right? That's fun. Okay, that's cool, right? We are a community, sure, of friends, right? But at no point did we ever talk about like, oh, would you? He never asked, would you like to be my brother? Or would you like to be my mother? Would you like to be my father? Would you like to be my cousin? X, Y, and Z. And when a day came where they just randomly spilt it on me, they might have told other people. I don't know. I don't really know the whole ordeal. But, he starts calling me like, oh, you're like my brother. And, you know, when it's a little, like, word, right, where you're like, oh, okay, sure, right, sure. I'm like a brother to you, but I'm not your brother. It got to a point where he just started considering us as his extended family, which is sweet in a degree, but it also meant that they started like seeing us that way, and we didn't want that. We wanted a friend, you know. So it just made it so uncomfortable. And I know a lot of like these communities typically are like it's a mutual thing, right? That everyone agrees to. But like this situation was just to me, I've always like I've never had the greatest relationship with my brothers, right? So when someone starts calling me their brother, it just didn't feel good. I wasn't like considered when this was said, and like there to me there was never that connection there. I never considered the guy my brother. I was like, oh, he's just my friend, like a nice friend to boot, but like it's just these things need to be done in the right way, is what I'm trying to say. Um, Now I completely forgot the topic I was talking about before. So we're just gonna. Oh, I remember. Yeah. That's the end of my topic. Does it have a moral of the story? No. Oh yeah, don't be weird. Okay, this is the moral of the story. I wanted to talk about how I have to hide the fact that I'm making a podcast from my family, my actual family, not my fucking VR chat. Oh, you're my brother, you 60-year-old man who fucking wanks off to the fucking thought of me saying dad to him. Jesus Christ. Anyway, the topic I wanted to talk about is how I do have to hide the fact that I'm making a podcast from people. It's gotten to a point now with family, because I've been doing this for about 4 years now, that the conversation comes up, oh, what am I up to, right? Because I'm currently trying to get into a pretty highbrow job, right? So I can use that as my excuse for what I'm doing. But sometimes people like to know why the fuck I'm shouting Hatsune Miku put a dildo up my ass, right? And for the past like 2 years I have been doing these shows off and on. And I've always used this excuse that I am the editor for the podcast, right? And I'm just like an editor who likes to say everything out loud, right? And it's worked for so long, and I've said that I've produced so many episodes. They ask, oh, are you being paid for it? And I'm like, well, no. So I've used the excuse, oh, like I get 33% of the income of the podcast. So it's kind of like an investment of time, and I get, because it isn't just, it started off like, oh, it was just a single family member. Now at like family gatherings, people know I do like editing, and they know I do podcasting to a degree, right? And I'll be asked questions about like how to edit and what I'm doing with podcasting and my like opinions on podcasting and shit. And I'm like, guys, it's creeping into the point where they've asked me what the name of the podcast is, and I've had to say, oh, it's a work in progress. There is no name. Um, you can't find this anywhere. But that's all to say that I rue the day that I wake up or I go to a family gathering and someone quotes the podcast and someone understands what I'm saying. That I've gone to like a wedding, right? And I'm sitting at the table, you know, my brother's doing his speech, and then I'm expected to do my best man speech, and I'm sitting there, and like my nephew would be on his phone, and he looks up at me and he says, Hatsune Miku. I would cry. I would bawl in tears. I don't know what I would do. I would storm. I'd make an exit, right? I would go out to the parking lot with all the other like depressed men and women who want to be married but don't, and they're out there because they don't want to hear the best man and woman speech. They're all just smoking out there, and I'll join them. I'll have to, and because I would be disgraced. I don't want people knowing this. I like this podcast. I like doing this, and I like editing. But if people were to know the kind of shit that I say, I don't want that. Let me tell you something, viewers. I like the fact, right, that when I go to a family gathering, we just talk about basic shit, right? Like, oh, what's the new video game you're up to? Or, you know, politics or some fucking abhorrent, other boring fucking piece of topic, right? I would hate if that suddenly started going like, oh, you have a very similar humor than me. Dance, monkey. You know? I'll put the podcast up on the screen while we're all listening to shit. So the entire family knows you do a podcast. And you know that's gonna spread like a wildfire. I'm in a white, like, kind of family where, you know, if my mother was to ever find out I own the podcast, and they were just to tell a friend, who then tells another friend, who then tells my, like, auntie, who then goes around the entire fucking family, and in no time, everyone knows I'm a podcaster who talks shit on the podcast, and, you know, I have people in my family who would happily listen to the entire fucking episode just to quote me the day after, right? So what I'm saying is that if this ever happens, I'm burning the podcast down, all right? There will be no more episodes. No one gets to enjoy the podcast. So this is up to you, buddy. If you ever see this podcast and you know who you are, if you're a friend who knows my family, don't ever fucking bring it up. I will kill you. I will kill you. This is not a joke. This is not a bit. I will murder you, okay? I will find a way. I will fucking, what's that scene in, like, Daredevil, where, yeah, this is, like, so fucking, so strange. Where, like, there's this guy, I can't even fucking think of the scene. But it's like, there's this big fat dude who's got a wife, and this dude named Poindexter throws like a fucking glass shard at her, and she dies or some shit. That will be you, the girl who dies. The fat guy, I don't know. That's maybe like your husband? What I'm saying is I will make you gay first before I murder you. How am I gonna do that? I don't know. There'll be some way. How far are we in this podcast now? Fuck! We're in 36 minutes and I've talked about nothing. There's like... I still have 6 more topics to talk about. Was I talking about fucking female, like, women dating? Not dating, like, family shit for that long? Okay. We've got more shit to go on, alright? Most of this is VRchat related. This is gonna be a very VRchat heavy centric video. But we are going to talk about something new. So, on the topic of, like, Daredevil and all of that crap, one of the characters in Daredevil, if you guys don't know who that is the Punisher, right? This Frank Castle dude, he's like, fuck, if you shoot that bullet, I'm going to shoot you in the head, or, you know, and he looks left to right, and he goes, you know, he's just a dude, right? He's this cool military man, and he's badass. And I'm a bit like Frank Castle, you know? And there's a bunch of, like, nubile fucking men, nubile boys who love the idea of these, like, badass characters in all black, you know, setting out to justice and being cool as fuck, you know? we've seen that for years and years, from the Sigma males of like the Peaky Blinders, the Tom Shelbys of the world, the Ryan Gosling. Oh, I'm the guy in Blade Runner, and the male instinct to die on a white bench in the snow. I hate that. Can I tell you that I hate that? I hate when people are like on sites, on websites, where they're just like, they'll have an image of like a snowy bench, and they're like, the male instinct to die here, because we're all like a cool fucking edgy Mr. Badass type, right? And our deaths are gonna be bleeding to death in a snowy biome. Yeah, we're in Minecraft, in a snowy environment, right? While depressive music plays. Why is that a fantasy for people? Why do we want to die so much in cool ways? Right? Why do we want this? That is the true male fantasy. I think, years ago it was like, oh, I'm a guy who has so much women who just suck my knob, and I'm like the vampire of 15 succubi, That was it once. Now it's, I am the Billy Badass of the world. I'm fucking cool as shit. I have my gun, and I'm gonna kill people, and then I'm gonna bleed out and die. And that's my life, alright? And I'm gonna have an AI girlfriend who says, "Are you lonely?" And I'll say, "Uh-huh, yeah, I am." Please, AI girlfriend. Make me feel like Ryan Gosling. Sorry. And like, it's getting, more and more people are into this, right? There's this whole like statistical boom that's happened where it's like more men are depressed or what have you, or more men are lonely. And so a lot of people like see themselves in these Billy Badass characters, in these Ryan Gosling types. That's why Ryan Gosling's so popular, right? And I get it. I understand. But now BTS is coming back, and there are men who are like, damn, I wish I was like white troubled teens who are like, what's the word? Fantasizing being Korean. They're like, I wish I was like this. I'm like eating ramen, and I am like adopted in the Korean world. It's such a strange duality, and I don't quite know the point of this, right? But there are people now who are trying to embrace this otherness. I think that's just in general, right? Like even the Frank Castle shit, right? The Daredevils, the fucking Billy Badass. Everyone's trying to embrace this otherness, right? This whole, I am something other than I am, right? I am this Korean dude who goes to bars, who only gets Japanese imports, right? Because it's cultured, and I like it this way, And I know Korean, I guess. I listen to BTS, Like, I'm not saying you guys are wrong, but you're both as autistic as one another. And when you sit there and fight each other in your little discords, in your little conversation streams, right? You're fucking both autistic. Go outside, man, right? Go, just do something in your life. Find purpose, That's what people need to do. If you want to be a Billy Badass type, right? Don't be, all right? I was hearing a story, like I met someone a bit ago, this was a long time ago, who had joined the military. And he was like, the reason why I joined the military is I wanted to be like Solid Snake. Like, I thought that was cool. So you're gonna change your entire fucking life because you want to be a weird fucking Solid Snake dude? I saw fucking Invisible, and how does it go? Like, and you can't hear a word They say, has the memory gone? Are you feeling numb? That's me. That's how I want to die, right? I want to be coming from. This is how I do it. I come from my fucking my like shower to the recording booth that is just my desk, right? And I've got this badass invisible music going on, right? Explosions in the background. It's snowing. There are like fucking SWAT outside my door with guns, and they're fucking shouting, "Oh, dude, we're gonna kill you if you do not come out now." You know, that's how I want to go out. I'm Billy Badass. Frank Castle's me. But sorry, this guy, he says he joins the military because he really wants to be, he wanted to be like Solid Snake. And it's like, why? Are you a functioning adult? Do you have a brain? This is the mentality, right? You are some guy who has just got off like Metal Gear fucking Phantom Pain, you know, speaking of Phantom Pain, VRchat, but yeah, Phantom Pain, right? When you hear the words they say, and I bet you, right? This is the mentality. I 100% bet you. I could put money down on this, right? That the guy, he like got off his fucking bus because he was going to the, like, what is it, like the sign up areas, right? Where some guy sits down and they're like, well, you gotta be, why do you want to join the military? X, Y, and Z. And he was listening to Invisible by Duran Duran while on the bus. He had it repeating over and over and over again, right? And he was listening to it. And as he got off the bus, he's still listening to it. He's walking down, he sees the people around him, he kind of dissociates for a bit, because he is Metal Gear fucking Snake in that mode, dude. No one hears a word you say. And he's got like a pip in his step, you know? He's looking around like fucking Billy Badass, you know, sizing people up, you know? He's probably got his shades on or some shit, right? And he walks into the room, he takes off his earpods, right? And he's still got it in his head, playing over and over again. He's mumbling it to himself, right? He knows he's the next badass. He knows that they're gonna be sitting down, they'll be like, your scores, oh my god, we've never seen this before. We need you in our SAS right now, you skinny little kid who wants to be this guy. And he gets up to the side of the booth, right, where they're asking him about, like, if he would like to sign up and all of that shit. And they ask him his reasons, right? And you're sitting there. Let's play this out, right? You're gonna be the Billy Badass guy who is signing up for your shitty little, your shitty little thing, right? So you've come up to me, right? And you've just got your pip in your step, right? You're staring at a big military man, right? Why do you want to be here, mate? They're Australian. And you're like, well, you know, you're going to say you're here because you want to make a difference. You're going to make a bunch of lies, right? You've searched up you've gone into an AI voice bot, right? And they've said to you how fucking Solid Snake would answer this question. And you have memorized it. You've spent the past fucking 7 days memorizing this fucking line because you've got to be like Solid Snake, right? No one hears a word they say. Fucking hell. And you're sitting there. You don't give a fuck the ramification. The guy tells you, you know, fucking X, Y, and Z that you might lose your life, right? And yet you're like, you still continue. You still fucking keep on going, right? It was a really funny thing that I heard some guy say once to me. It was like, he had gone into basic training and they had told him, you know, this ain't, if you love your mom, this ain't your job, because you're gonna die and if you don't want to hurt your mom, like, you better not be here, because your mom's gonna fucking cry when you die. And this kid, like, whatever fucking went for it might have been the same guy, in fact, who's telling me the second story. And he's like, he gets up to leave, and I think the sergeant at the time is like, sit down. And he would then spend the rest of his life afterwards in the military, right? It's just like, why are we conditioning little boys whose ideas are, oh, I'm Solid Snake, into the military, right? A friend of mine got into the military, right? You don't know who you are. But they were like, before they got in, they were such a sweet person that when they told me and my friends at the time that they wanted to get into the military, it was a fucking shock. I mean, what do you say at that point, right? When someone's like, "Oh, I'm signing up." It wasn't like I'm like thinking about it. It's like, "Oh, I've already like signed up. They've given me my fucking my contract, right? And I've signed it. And I've signed away my life." And it was this like really nice guy who you would never consider would have the capacity to be able to fucking join the military to serve, or it was such some guy who would never think that, and it's like, I understand they went through a lot at the time. I don't want to inflame their entire fucking personality. I understand they were at a point, right? And I don't think they've even realized this themselves. And if they ever do hear this, I hope you understand what I'm saying to you. They were at a point in their lives that was like really bad. And instead of dealing with it in a really good way, they joined the military, and some dude, without even realizing that, invited them in, right? Took a normal fucking dude and turned him into a military man. And it's like taking a boy and sending him off to war, right? Like, I don't know if he's done any active duty yet, but he's just so different now, and not in in a different way, and it's such a scary thing, dude. All right, fucking. And I bet you he fucking listens to the song. I know he knows the song. In fact, we were singing it in karaoke. He knows the song. Can't hear a word you say. Has the memory gone? I was singing it with him when I was drunk. I didn't even know the ramifications. Oh Lord, he probably joined it to be Metal Gear. Oh Lord. Fucking... Why are we doing this to people? Holy shit. Anyway, we've got a little bit more topic points. I want to have a little segue, right? Into how to get in touch. I mentioned this in the first podcast, and I haven't checked my emails at all, even if there wasn't anything. Maybe I'll just lie a little bit and say there was. But if you want to get in contact, right, and I would love for you to get in contact, if you've got stories to tell, if you've got, things you want to tell me, if you want to tell me you hate my political opinions, though I don't think I've told any political opinion, you hate the fact that I said one thing bad about BTS, and that I was hurting you and your stupid little VRchat community, tell me in the comments, right? Or send me over a fucking email, dude. That's late night. Is it like late night barcade? Right? That's it. Late night barcade. I think I'm getting better at this. Yeah. Late night barcade at gmail.com. If you want to get in touch, check late night barcade at gmail.com. Send me over a message. If you want to send some love, some nice messages, you can. I'm not going to bring up all of your emails in the podcast. Just put like a little thing that says you don't want it up on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, sure, 100%. I'll just bring up the topic point without bringing you up, right? So, fucking give it a go. Check me out. Check me out. Why am I saying that? Check it out. Send me an email whenever you want. That's latenightbarcade at gmail.com. Right? Late Night Barcade? Yeah. Check it out. If you've got something to say, if you're a friend of mine, you have no excuse not to send me an email. All right, I know a couple of you have been checking this fucking podcast out, and none of you have sent a single fucking email, right? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? You're my friend, and you would send me a Discord message easier than a fucking email. For the love of God, help me out. Sorry. I appreciate all of your guys' support. I want that to be known. I do really appreciate it. But yeah, with that, we've got we are getting pretty high up into the time. I think we might actually be able to manage like a full hour podcast. We've got how many topic points left? We've got like a fair amount of podcast episodes, topics left. I will save a couple of these for next time. I think I'll go into just one more before I talk about that. And I want to talk about the love stream, because I think that will take a good solid like 15 minutes. So a couple weeks ago, I found a rival podcast. Technically, they're doing way better than I am, and we're not rivals at all, but I like to consider we're rivals. I'm not going to name the podcast, because I frankly don't remember it. But, you know, it's a podcast all about love, you know? A bit of love and feeling, you know? And the concept was cool, right? It was just a bunch of dudes and girls and guys and autists and weirdos and VRchat and Hatsune Mikus who would come to the chat and they would spill their beans about their fucking relationships and their troubles, and two people who are not qualified to speak about that, because we podcasters are not qualified to talk about anything we talk about, would give relationship advice to very desperate people. You know, and if that's sounding like a bad thing, it really is, right? We as podcasters should never try and be like, outside of like maybe jokes and stuff, assume we are like people who should be ones to answer questions, unless we have like enough knowledge to understand a topic, right? Don't claim you're an expert, all right? Because especially in people's relationships, right? In people's lives. I do this podcast out of fun. I think I think some stuff are autistic. That's fine. I'm not going to say that you have to do this, right? At all. Apart from if you're doing like a very horrible fucking thing. I just find it fun, and I find talking about this shit fun. So when I see a podcast that is all about love and matchmaking and cool fucking relationship advice, it makes me interested, right? So I gave it a go. I gave it a look. I put some time towards it, and I see a question come up, because most of their like answers were a bit hit or miss. It's just like, oh, you know, if you're having these troubles, just, I don't know, get out of the relationship, stuff like that. Like nice things. When it's like, oh, my boyfriend is like toxic. Yeah, probably find a good way to get out of there. I think, you know, the advice should be, hey, you should probably not consider us as your voice of reason. But anyway, they love to assume themselves as experts. And I will be bringing up their podcast a lot, because we're rivals now. Late Night at the Barcade and this one podcast, we're rivals, okay? So a guy comes into their chat, and he's like, you know, I am really lonely, right? And it's not a good start to a thing. And they're like, oh, well, let's read on, right? They didn't just assume based on the one text. He was like, you know, I have a couple of best friends who are female, and I am getting to a point where I'm starting to have feelings for them, right? And, you know, I see all the people in my life who are in committed relationships and are in, you know, have people with them, and I'm feeling I want that, you know? And like, okay, that's a perfectly normal thing, you know, people experience that all the time. You know, friends, it will always come in a relationship where you will start to develop feelings for someone. It happens. But it's how you fucking act upon it, right? That is the real kicker, right? So this guy like he sends that stuff through, and one of the presenters or the podcasters hosts starts talking, right? And they're like, "Bud, what you gotta do is you have to either tell them your feelings straight away, you know, who cares if that's not what they want?" Because the guy was saying, like the person who had sent it in, that this was like they had no like their friends had no romantic intentions with them, and every time he would try and flirt, they would not reciprocate. And he's like, "Well, dude," the host, "well, dude, you just gotta be, I don't know, more like forceful. That's not the good word, but you know what I mean. Like, more. It's got to be more obvious, right? And if they flirt back, well, you know, you got something." It's like, you know, that's probably not the thing to do, right? And he's like, "Okay, if that doesn't work, right?" And I'll go through the entire thing that he says, right, without breaking it down, because I'll do him the satisfaction of saying the entire thing properly. And then he's like, "Okay, well, if that doesn't work, then, you know, and if they don't want to be with you, you have to leave. Just like stop talking to them, you know?" Like, I don't have that kind of stuff that happens in my life. And then he starts gloating about, like, you know, when I'm flirtatious, people know. And I've got so many friends and X, Y, and Z. And, you know, if I lose one of them, then that's like, okay. It's like, but, you know, firstly, that mentality is fucking just horrendous, right? Whatever. But, you know, these are this guy's best friends, right? Or he considers them as very close friends. Giving the guy advice where it's like, you know, "Oh, because you can't get with them, you shouldn't be friends with them," is fucking horrendous. Now, this podcast is not a podcast for advice or a podcast for, you know, for me to tell you how you're supposed to do something, you know, and how to do your relationships. But I'll tell you something, right? A little bit of fucking advice. That's not the way to go. Because your best friend doesn't know that, dude. They don't know you want to fuck them, right? Like, how your best friend is going to one day wake up and you're not there anymore for something that they have no idea that's happening, for something they cannot control, because you have feelings for them. Newsflash, bud. Everyone at some point has a little inkling, a little wisp in their head that draws feelings to someone, right? It happens. Maybe it comes from out of desperation. Maybe it comes out of just a small little thought, right? But you, at the end of the day, are the one who controls and acts upon that, right? And if it's truly love that you feel, whatever happened to loving at a distance, you know? Like, you can still love someone and not be in a relationship with them, dude. You don't have to fuck your friends, is what I'm trying to say, right? You know? And this is what this guy was talking about. Like, to him, the only solution was that he had to be in a relationship. It was either ride or die. I had to burn everything to the ground because I cannot fuck my friend. Like, bud, you don't have to. There are people in the world you will find, okay? The adverb, there are more fish, there's always fish in the sea, is fucking true, okay? You may have feelings now, but it can change in the future. Do not act upon your little impulses, because we are adults. We're not children, right? Because that's what you do when you're 12. That's what you do when you're 12. You feel a certain way. That's what I did when I was 12. You know, it's like hold on, I just need to double check something. Okay, this is coming through. Cool. You know, that's what I did when I was 12, you know, like, I would have a female friend and I would just stop hanging out with them because I started getting a crush. And they were hurt by it. And then later on in high school, I had to deal with someone who was like, "Dude, you were an asshole," because we were really close. And I'm like, ah. But dude, that's what 12-year-olds do, man. You're an adult, okay? Don't hurt someone because you feel a certain way. Don't just fuck all your friends, okay? You can have a normal friendship, all right? It's like, oh my god. people need to understand that, like, someone gaining a little bit of attraction is a perfectly normal thing. Okay? It happens. Okay? You're not weird for thinking it. You're not strange for doing it. It's just how you act upon it. Do you want to ruin your fucking friendship? Your friendship that you spent years and years on because you want to fuck them? No! Just love them at a distance, man. And if that hurts, too bad, man. Life hurts sometimes, alright? You know, what's life if there's not a little bit of struggle? And if you have to struggle with that emotion from time to time, then, like, work on yourself. If you are getting to the point where, like, you're acting in a weird way around your friends and you're hurting them, stop. Take a step back. Work on it. It's not hard. Don't stop hanging out with someone. You know, it's because they don't know this, right? They don't deserve that. You know they don't deserve that. You know, I love people who say the sentiment, "Oh, I should do this because being in life you got to be selfish." Okay, in life you have to be selfish, sure, but you're not going to be someone with friends at the end of the day if you're going to be selfish, right? Sometimes you have to take a little bit of sacrifice for those you love, okay? Start getting that into your head now, buddy, right? So that you don't hurt yourself down the line and that you're one of those fucking 40-year-olds who are lonely. And hey, maybe, like, I understand I'm a different guy. I don't really give a fuck about fucking everybody, right? That's not my biggest fucking intention and not what I care about, right? And there are some people who do. That's fine. Do not involve your friends there. You have a good thing, dude, right? You have friends who care about you, who you care about. Stop trying to put your fucking cock in them, all right? It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy not to, right? Like, and if you are struggling with that, that's fine, but do not, like, shun away the people who love you and care for you. That is my advice. Though I am not someone you should ever take advice from, right? When I saw this podcast about this and that there were just some people giving the worst kind of advice for this, you need someone who's doing the opposite. I am, if this podcast it is anything, right? It is the opposite of these kind of, like, oh, I'm going to give you terrible advice. I'm here to show you you're being a fucking idiot, all right? You know, if you're a guy and your stupid little, like, your stupid little father-son mother crap that's not even real, right? If that is what you're doing, take a step back, and if you're doing it for the right reasons, fine, whatever. Don't let me stop you, but take a step back and understand how autistic you are being right now. If you are a guy who's like, I want to be a Frank Castle type, take a step back, understand how fucking retarded you are, right? You know, let this podcast be that. And if you hate me, sure, get all your anger out on me, all right? Because sometimes life takes a little bit of sacrifices, all right? For me to help you, you need to be mean to me. But yeah, with that, I'm going to end the podcast here. I think I've just run out of topics. We've just hit the hour mark. It's not going to be exactly an hour for you guys because I am going to cut this down. But yeah, thank you guys for watching again. If you want to get in touch, remember it's latenightbarcade@gmail.com. Send me that hate mail. Tell me if I helped you with something or don't. I don't really care. You know, it's up to you, right? I want to have community engagement. Again, if you don't want it up on the podcast, let me know in the email. And if you do, then fuck yeah. And if you're my friends, you don't have an excuse. You don't have an excuse, all right? Fucking send me a mail. You have my Discord. Send me it over Discord if you don't want to send me an email. That's fine. You don't have to use your personal emails. Send me a Discord thing. Be like, oh, hey, you said you wanted people on the podcast to come back to you and talk to you. Here's the thing that I want you to bring up. Yes, do that. I need topic points, dude. Like, it's kind of difficult. That's why it took like a little bit longer to make this episode, is because I had to find the topic points. Now, fortunately, I have the gift of gab and I can fucking talk forever, right? But, you know, I still have to come up with these things. Anyway, with that being said, thank you all for watching. This has been Late Night at the Barcade. I have been your host. This is episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm hoping we just need to get to episode 3, baby. All right. Before we got to episode 2, we just need episode 3. All right. With that being said, let me finish off with the thing that I say all the time. Be bold, be brave, stay beautiful, people. All right. Good night.
Talking
I have a
about.
big brain. I have a big brain.
I think that is the one I'm talking about. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna go
My
check that
brain's
out.
so big.
Thank you very much.
My dick's
You're
so
welcome.
fat.
You have a good one.
Oh, that was embarrassing.
What? That my dick is fat? I'm sorry. I can't control it.
You can't control how fat your dick is, dude.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
This is all in the
I'm
recording,
not sorry.
dude.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can put this in the recording. I don't give a shit.